Welcome to the Wayback Chronicles podcast, brought to you by Noel Kirsch, Steve McKilkey, and me, Keith Abbott. In the Wayback Chronicles, we discuss the greatest events that's happened from the 1970s to the present.
And in this episode, Noel's going to take us through the sports moments of 1990. So, Noel, it's all you.
All right, thank you.
What's so funny about that?
I'm still laughing at the camera. Keith has this camera that obviously listeners can't see this, but they couldn't be glad you can't.
Yeah.
But he's got a camera that follows him, and
Mind of its own.
Right before we started recording this episode, the camera just panned around the room, and anyway, sorry.
Yeah,
I got distracted.
Should I do that again, or
No. I think we're good.
We're good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm trying not to look at Keith, so that's why I totally missed what you're laughing at.
I couldn't help it. I glanced over there, and he's all.
I'm all chilling.
Anyway, yeah, chilling. All right, sports 1990. First of all, in the world of baseball, I think just in general, there were significant events in the baseball world in 1990. Decade saw a World Series sweep, which, yeah, and then also record-breaking contract. So I'll kind of cover all of that. But first of all, the Nolan Ryan threw his sixth career no-hitter for the Texas Rangers on June 11th at the tender young age of 43.
Wow.
And even at that age, he was throwing the ball by batters at 95 miles an hour.
That's wild.
Yeah, he is.
Legend.
He really is, man. Have y'all seen that documentary they did of him recently? It is
really
so
good.
good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. If you're listening and you haven't watched that, it's it came out. I watched it in the theater. It was released to the theater like for a couple of screenings. It wasn't a big release, but I managed to get a ticket to go see that. And then I think it's actually on Netflix or one of the 50 streaming services out there today, but it's well worth the watch. And he's a Texas guy, so it's good. Anyway, so he also led the league in strikeouts in 1990 with 232 strikeouts. And in his career, he threw a record 9 no-hitters.
Wow.
Which is insane.
That's unreal.
So I thought it was 7, but you got 9. Wow.
Yeah. No, I just read that wrong, Steve. Ryan's was one of a record 9 no-hitters thrown in 1990. So that means for all of baseball, man, you almost made him sound even better than he actually is. But anyway, he threw his 6th career no-hitter in 1990 and probably ended up with 7. I bet you're probably right about that in his career. And there were 9 no-hitters thrown by pitchers in the major leagues in 1990. But also Cecil Fielder of the Detroit Tigers became the first American League player since Roger Maris and Mickey Mantle to hit 50 home runs in a season. And then off the field, Jose Steroids Canseco signed a 5-year contract with the Oakland Athletics worth up to a whopping $23.5 million, which is by today's comparisons pocket change.
Right.
Although I'd take it.
I'd take it too.
Yeah. To play baseball.
What if this is a year that pop fly went off of Jose Canseco's head?
I don't know. I do remember that, and
he was with the Athletics when that happened, I believe.
It might be something to kick to the research department and see. That didn't come up in my research, but I've got a few more highlights here on baseball. So by the time I finish this, maybe the research department will have that. But
research department did say it was 93 when that happened. Off of Cleveland's Carlos Martinez. So
yeah. Well,
a couple of years later,
it got him. History was made in Seattle, where Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr. became the first ever father-son combination to play in the majors on the same team in the same game. That's awesome. Pretty cool.
Yeah.
His
Very cool.
Senior played for the Cincinnati Reds, and of course, Jr. was always at the Mariners, but forgot that they joined together in 1990. 1990 was like the year I was collecting baseball cards. That was like if you look in my closet, I've got baseball cards from like 89 to about 93, kind of in that's about it. Yeah. But I have all of them. And I'm a big King Griffey Jr. guy. His rookie year was in 89. And what a hoss.
Yeah, totally.
Cincinnati Reds dominated the National League with a lineup reminiscent of the Big Red Machine from the 1970s. They finishing the season 5 games ahead of second place. The Reds were ready to take on whatever came with a bullpen known as the, quote, Nasty Boys, Rob Dibble. Y'all remember Rob Dibble?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude was like a tank.
Yeah, it was.
Rob Dibble, Norm Charlton, and Randy Myers, they won a 41 games combined for the season. And then the Reds swept the National League Championship Series away from the Pirates, with Myers and Dibble sharing the MVP.
That's awesome.
That was pretty good. On the American League side, Oakland held the best record in the major leagues, 103 games to 59 losses for the season. They finished a crazy 9 games ahead of second place. And then in the ALCS and the championship series for the American League, Oakland beat the Red Sox, easily defeating them in 4 straight games. And it was, so you've got on the National League, you got Cincinnati that's sweeping. And then on the American League side, you had Oakland that was sweeping. And so they got these 2 powerhouses that were coming to clash, and everybody expected like this World Series. It was just out of the game. And really kind of everybody thought that the A's were going to win it easily. Like they had some amazing athletes. They had Jose Canseco, Ricky Henderson. Like they had a stacked lineup. But
Mark McGwire was on the team that.
Yeah, Mark McGwire as well.
Yeah.
They had the athletes. But for the first game of the World Series, Cincinnati demolished the Oakland pitching staff while shutting down the Bash brothers 7-0. The second game was a little closer, 5-4. It took innings to decide, but the Reds still won that one. And then they won the final 2 games and sealed the World Series and swept the Oakland A's for the championship that year. But
curious, how many times has there been a sweep at the World Series? Do y'all know?
It's a great question. I don't know.
We'll find out.
I don't know.
I feel like there's a lot of 4-1 game series, but
yeah,
sweep is pretty hard at that level.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. College basketball. You'll remember Tarkanian. Is it Tarkanian? Yeah. UNLV basketball team coach. I remember he always had the towel and stuff he always bid on and everything. UNLV basketball team had the best season in school history in 1990, never having won a championship. They continued to win game after game, making it to the Final Four. UNLV beat Georgia Tech 90-81. So Duke faced Arkansas, and Duke beat Arkansas and advanced to the championship game. And then UNLV won their game, and everybody expected. I mean, this was sort of the beginning of Duke's like streak, where they just became the Duke that we know today.
Yeah.
And UNLV destroyed Duke, 103 points. They scored 103 points and beat Duke by more than 30 points.
Wow.
So that was a statement win. But yeah, thought that was pretty interesting. So
some Hall of Famers on that UNLV team.
And, yeah.
Crazy.
Yep. And it's a small school too. It's what I love about the Final Four. Like these small, schools that have really small, enrollment and everything become like they have just as good a chance of being a basketball powerhouse as the big schools. So it's pretty cool. Professional basketball. This was the year that the basketball added the expansion of 2 new teams. You guys, for a little trivia, do y'all know who were the 2 new NBA teams added to the NBA in 1990?
I'm going to say
you said
Memphis?
Magic?
Yeah.
Yep, that's one of them. Steve?
Charlotte?
Nope.
Magic?
It wasn't Minnesota Timberwolves, was it?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Very nice.
Minnesota Timberwolves and the Orlando Magic were the 2 expansion teams. They had terrible years. They both finished under 300, which is not great. But they, that was the season that those 2 teams were added. I'll skip through the finals and just kind of get to the NBA finals. The NBA finals featured the Detroit Pistons and the Portland Trailblazers. Both teams had, this is kind of weird, both teams had identical regular season win-loss records.
Huh.
But the Trailblazers were no match for the Detroit. They had Isaiah Thomas, kind of enough said. I think he scored like 1 million points that year. Was just amazing. And the Pistons beat Portland 4-1 to win the championship. And so one notable thing is in the final game with the score tied at 90, Vinnie Johnson of the Pistons nailed a jump shot with 0.7 seconds left, sealing a 92-90 victory.
Wow.
Over
I
Portland.
always thought that Vinnie Johnson had one of the worst nicknames in the history of sports. The Microwave.
That's his nickname?
Yeah, Vinnie the Microwave Johnson.
Why? That's a great question.
No idea how it got to that, but I tell you, that Pistons team was super dirty. And
is that one of the Rodman years too?
Robin was there, Bill Laimbeer was there.
Oh, Bill Laimbeer.
And if you ever see the clips of Larry Bird and Bill Laimbeer, flat out fist fight, it's during the 1990 years for sure.
Yeah, it's crazy. I remember I did not like Bill Laimbeer. He just had the nasty look on his face.
Yeah.
And he had that. He was the first one that had like the plastic mask and stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like that guy just doesn't seem human.
Okay, here you go. Research department just passed me this. So following the Pistons' 102-99 victory, Celtics guard Danny Ainge, we all remember that whiny guy.
Oh yeah.
Commented on Johnson's performance by saying, "If that guy in Chicago is the refrigerator, then Vinnie Johnson is the microwave. He sure heated up in a hurry." That's where he gets his name.
There you go.
There you go. Nice job, research department.
Yeah, mystery solved. That's awesome. Michael Jordan of the Chicago Bulls won the NBA scoring title in 1990. He led second place Karl Malone by over 200 points.
Oh my gosh. narrow margin of victory.
He just squeaked by. But that Michael Jordan, he stays in there. He's gonna become something in basketball one day. I got a feeling about that guy. Boys,
as long as he stays positive, anything's possible.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you. Somebody listens.
So awesome. And if that didn't make any sense to you need to go back and listen to some of our older episodes.
You're not paying attention.
I think it was 98 sports.
I think you're right. Yep. You're right. Keith inspired a future PGA champion.
A young Tiger Woods.
Right.
Awesome. In the world of boxing, this was you guys remember like the Mike Tyson years when he just pummeled everybody. I mean, he had a crazy good record, but in the biggest upset of the year, Mike Tyson lost the heavyweight title to James Buster Douglas. He was previously undefeated and was an overwhelming favorite. I think the odds were like 42-1 in his favor. So there was little chance that he was going to lose, but he lost the title in a 10th round knockout. And then afterwards came out and said that he was smoking marijuana and hadn't really been doing his training and hadn't really taken the fight seriously. And that's why he lost. But remember, like a few years later, he boxed Vander Holyfield and bit his ear off, and it just got worse from there.
Yeah,
it started weird, it got weirder.
Yeah,
you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe he got hit a lot in the head. Yeah. Y'all remember that Will Smith song? He was talking about I don't know why I thought I could fight Mike Tyson. Y'all heard that song?
I don't know if I have.
Really?
I think I remember it. I mean,
it's like anyway, yeah, it's a good song. I'm totally butchering it, but it's good. Yeah. It's one of those Will Smith ones, like when he's a Fresh Prince or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, so yada yada yada. That's boxing. In NCAA football, this was an interesting, weird year. The top spot in the polls was constantly changing in 1990. Miami, Florida, was upset by BYU in the first week. Then Notre Dame was ranked number 1. Then Stanford upset Notre Dame, and Michigan took the top spot. After Michigan State, blah 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 blah. lastly, Penn State defeated Notre Dame and Colorado to end the regular season at the top of the very crowded mountain. So it like flip flop, and then at the end of everything, after dust settled, Colorado was on top. And so at the end of the regular season, 5 teams all were basically tied for first. Georgia Tech was 10-0-1. University that's in Austin was 10-1. Houston 10-1. Colorado 10-1-1, and Louisville 9-1-1. So Colorado played its game, and I think they played in the Orange Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm sorry, Georgia Tech demolished Nebraska 45-21. Colorado squeaked by Notre Dame 10-9. And then the polls, you remember these are like the AP polls, and that they were UPI poll and the AP poll kind of determined who was going to be the national champion. UPI ranked Georgia Tech number 1, and then Colorado was ranked number 1 by the AP. And so it was actually ruled a tie as to who was the national champion in 1990.
I remember that.
Yeah. And one interesting weird thing about it is that in Colorado's game against Notre Dame, they won their final game on a 5th down because the game officials miscounted the downs.
I remember that.
They gave them a 5th down.
The Colorado game, right?
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, and they won on that errant play by the officials. So, yeah.
I remember. So this was my freshman year, and right. So you're talking about the national championship that went into 91, right?
Yes.
Okay. I remember because this was like the year that I thought the year before was like finally when I decided to go to Tech, because we beat A&M and Texas that year. And it was like, okay, this is a team on the verge of greatness, right?
Yeah.
Well, then 1990 comes in. The first team we play away is Ohio State. The next game that we play is at Houston at home. And this is the legendary, if you're ever in the band and you hear about this story, this is the Gatlin Brothers performance where they play they perform with the Goin' Band the song Houston, and they go Houston, and the whole crowd goes sucks. And it's like it's legendary. And then we end up playing Texas, which was up there, and we also played Miami. I remember Miami came to Jones Stadium. And we watched them. And I just remember watching just the punting itself. We are going to be destroyed. I mean, it was like embarrassing, right? And I was like, I think the game, we lost like 45-10. It was embarrassing. But I mean, it was, I remember that year was like all of the ones that were in the running for national championship was through the Texas Tech rotation. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is my freshman year. Pretty excited about this team.
Oh, totally.
Great decision on my part. Yeah. Yeah, it was terrible.
We were 4-7 that year.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Sounds like we were lucky to get those 4 wins.
The birth of "I'll Be Home for Christmas" song and all this stuff. We can still win. That was this year.
It was the birth of cautiously optimistic.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much. Yeah. I think this was actually the year of the tortillas too. I think this was the birth.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I was at Tech when that happened. So
it was 91.
Yeah.
91. Okay. Okay.
Because A&M called us Tortilla Tech, if I remember right.
Okay. Yeah. I couldn't remember if it was 90 or 91. It was one of those two. Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Ty Detmer with BYU captured the Heisman Trophy, and then the BYU went to the Holiday Bowl and faced Texas A&M, and they lost to them 65-14. It wasn't close. Detmer set the college season record for most passing yards in a season until one of the Texas Tech quarterbacks, I'm sure, probably demolished it years later. But anyway,
no doubt.
That's college football in 1990. On to the pros in 1990. The San Francisco 49ers were in the Super Bowl like they were this year. That was a great ending to the Super Bowl. I'm sorry for all the San Francisco fans that are, I'm surely listening right now, but that was an exciting ending to a Super Bowl this year. Finally,
totally.
Agreed.
The way they should all be.
Yeah. Agreed.
I love the overtime. Have y'all seen the clips where like the guy that called the coin, or that for 49ers didn't realize that Kansas City was going to get the ball even if they scored? I was like, dude, you got to know the rules, man.
Yeah. Bad choice right there.
The referee flat out said, "All right, guys, we're starting a brand new game."
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's not like it's sudden death, overtime. We're playing a game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway,
at that stage of the game, with that much money you make, you should know that.
Yep.
Yeah, darn sure. Better. Okay. In the after winning the previous Super Bowl, the 49ers won 10 games in a row and finished with a season record of 14-2, best in the NFL. They were extremely dominant. AFC Conference Finals saw an amazing blowout by the Bills, overwhelming the Raiders 51-3. In the NFC, the Giants advanced past the 49ers, defeating them 15-13 with place kicker Matt Baer scoring all of the Giants' points with 5 field goals, which must have been super exciting to watch. And then in the Super Bowl, it was the Giants versus the Bills. It seemed like the Bills were just in every Super Bowl from 1990 to 1999.
Yeah.
And they got beat by everybody.
Everybody.
It's just
they never quite closed the deal, could they?
It's so
They
weird.
still can't.
Yeah, right. It's true.
The poor Bills. I should be a Bills fan because that would fit, right? You're a Texas Tech football.
Can't have nice things.
You inherit the Bills as you get assigned an NFL team to cheer for. I think that's really the way it works.
Right.
Anyway. In the Super Bowl, the Giants proved to be no joke. They defeated the Bills like everybody else did, 20-19. New York set a new Super Bowl record by keeping possession of the ball for 40 minutes and 33 seconds, which is a whole lot of time.
Dang.
That's crazy.
And then Barry Sanders of Detroit had an amazing year, leading in rushing and touchdowns, averaging 5.1 yards per carry and scoring 13 touchdowns. So
I've always admired Barry Sanders because he could play for many more seasons to follow his retirement, but he decided that, he wanted to finish while he was still healthy and could enjoy his life. And I admire that. It wasn't all about the money for him.
Yeah, it's a good
totally. Thing. In the world of golf, quickly, Nick Faldo, who is a Briton, had an amazing year. He won both the Masters and the British Open, and then captured the PGA Player of the Year award. Lee Trevino and Jack Nicklaus both turned 50, qualifying for the senior golf tournaments. That means that, I wouldn't qualify yet, but I will soon be the three of us could qualify to play on the senior tour.
Yeah. I mean,
pretty soon. So.
Dust off the clubs and I'm there. I mean, it's
official sponsor of the senior golf tournament is colonoscopy.
Yeah.
Cologuard.
Cologuard.
Cologuard. You too can poop in a box in your home. I tell you, the worst job in the world has got to be the dude or girl that has to open the box.
Do you imagine? That's
Go to the mail.
Punishment.
It's
sort of prison sentence.
I just imagine like this warehouse, and they send the guy to the mailbox, and he knows what's going to be in the mailbox.
Yeah,
and he brings it back, and like, anything in the mail interesting today? Some junk mail.
It's a whole bunch of poo.
Yeah. That's a damn mail.
What's even worse is the trash man have to pick up that stuff after it's been re-aired.
Yeah.
I mean, they're two-plying those trash bags.
I had a paper clip on their nose, man.
I hadn't even thought about that. I wonder if they have like an incinerator and they just burn it. But then you got the neighbors that are like, dang, neighbors are out there
burning poo.
What's this ash composed of?
Like the greenest mountain where all the ash drifts into.
Compost.
It's like a hill with no trees. There's this green rainforest,
the ultimate forest.
What is it about that hill?
Yeah. Woo, boy, that's green and lush. I only want to talk about soccer because it emphasizes why the United States should just Yeah, it emphasizes why the United States should never be in that sport. First of all, the rest of the world insists on calling it football, and I think that,
there's some kicking.
We should stay out. Yeah, there's a little kicking.
There's a little kicking.
That's awesome. So anyway, the United States played in its first World Cup in 1990. Its first since 1950.
Wow.
40 years passed before we finally got into the World Cup. And then we got, of course, knocked out in the first round. So
not
just
surprising.
Zippo out of it. And Steve, he would have loved watching the 1990 World Cup final. It was a barn burner. West Germany scored a single goal, and they beat Argentina, who had 0 goals. So you would have been like, this is really maybe the greatest sport ever.
Absolutely.
And the best nap of your life.
Yes.
So that was sports in 1990, and we got it in under 42 minutes. So
nice.
There you go.
Nice.
Well played.
Yeah. Nice job, Noel.
Thank you.
Noel, you said, this year's not great in sports, but there's still some pretty cool stuff that happened out there. And
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, the whole like Mike Tyson getting knocked out by Buster Douglas still is, there had to be excuse for why he didn't perform well, because Buster Douglas was not an in shape dude. I mean, he wasn't. He was a little beefy, and and it was just, that had to be the most embarrassing loss of his career. Didn't have a lot of them, but that had to be the most embarrassing.
Yeah. I don't know that he ever actually recovered from that, because after that it went downhill.
Kind of went south, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah. He his invincibility that veil got broken, and I think he spent the rest of his days trying to regain his previous glory that he lost in that round, or in that match. But
agreed.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That was probably of all the sports things in that year, that was the one that kept popping up the most in my research, was the Mike Tyson getting beat by Buster Douglas. So
yeah. That's wild.
Yes.
Good recap, dude.
Yeah, well, nice job, Noel. We appreciate it. Keith,
we're up with
next
our
episode. We're going to do a little, our first time to do listener's choice. You ready for that?
I'm ready as I'm going to be. So let's do it. So we will catch you on the next episode.
Rock and roll.
Take care.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Wayback Chronicles. All shows are written and produced by Noel, Keith, and Steve. Massive thanks to those who made these memories possible for us through the years. All songs, sounds, and effects have been attributed in the comments section and through links listed on waybackchronicles.podbean.com. We look forward to taking you way back again in the very near future.